Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Mental Health Monday, Care for the Culture. We are just waiting for Kayla to come on so we can get into our conversation today. There she is. Okay, here we go. Everyone, welcome in. I know it's been a minute.
Hello! It is
How are
good.
you? I know.
I know I'm good. It is good to see your face and
I
to be back in this space. And today is going relatively well for six planets being in retrograde and it being a Monday.
all the things, right?
Right. How are you doing?
I am I'm doing really well. Yeah, like I feel like as you know, I went on vacation. I took some time and I feel like it was everything that I needed and I came
Yeah.
back feeling really in alignment in a lot of the ways. Like just
Hmm.
feeling really uh like okay, I cleared some things. I came to the end of a cycle and now like I'm moving into some new things personally, professionally, like all the
Yeah.
things. Like I feel really, really good. So
Yes, well, I
yeah,
love that for you. We gonna
thank you.
get up all into that as
Yeah,
well.
yes,
Hi,
we
everybody
will.
joining us. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
Tell a friend to hop in. And do you want to let the folks know who you are, who are
Yes.
tuning
Let's
in with
get
us?
into some introductions.
Yeah.
Um, Hello, world. My name is Katrina Long, aka Callie. I am a holistic mental health therapist in Inglewood, California, and the founder of Manifesting Me Wellness. Welcome to Care for the Culture.
Ooh, that was real clean, period. My name is Kayla. I am a yoga psychotherapist in the Long Beach, California area and founder of The Well Healing, which is my community centered resource offering holistic wellness for folks. So, welcome in.
Yes, welcome to Care for the Culture. We officially titled this a couple months ago, and we're making this transition. So we're so happy to see y'all here. Welcome in. Today we will be talking about travel and your mental health.
Yes,
'Cause that's
yes,
a thing.
very appropriate.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So I
Yeah.
talked a little bit about me going on vacation recently. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and anybody who follows me or knows me knows that I am all about travel.
Mm-hmm.
I love travel. It is such a huge part of my experience as just an individual, how I
Mm-hmm.
grow, how I learn, how I engage with the world.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know anything about your experience with travel and how you feel about it.
Yeah, I how do I feel about travel? So, I feel like honestly, I haven't traveled a lot. I would like to. That's only just been because of life circumstances that I
Absolutely.
haven't, whether I'm engaged in something or just financially it wasn't feasible for me. But I do enjoy it. And so the first like big trip, well, I should say growing up, my traveling was just going from California to Texas because that's where all my people are from.
Yeah.
So travel, I really love road trips. That's something that I
Mhm.
am very familiar with. So I am definitely the friend who you could throw into a car and I'm gonna have a good time. It's not for everybody, but I can rock with it. But the first like big plane trip that I took was in my last year of undergrad where I studied abroad in Barbados.
Nice.
And I would really like to travel more. I have traveled since. I've been to like Costa Rica, and I think honest and truly that's about it. But it's something that I would like to do. And so that's why I would love
Mhm.
to hear more about your experiences and someone who is more well versed. Because I honestly, the big thing for me with travel, well, one of the big things is just the getting there. Like, I know I just said I can rock in a car. I would actually rather be in a car than a plane, because
Mhm.
from the time you hit the curb of the airport to the time you get to your destination. But anyways, that's me and
Yeah,
travel in a nutshell.
I get all of that. I get all of that. I think it is a mixed bag of tricks. Like
Hmm.
it's it can be great and wonderful and stressful all at the same time, right? Like
Yeah.
we're talking about mental health, like the planning of a trip
Right.
can be really challenging in a lot of ways, and it can be financially straining depending on how many people are going and how many people you got to cover and like what that looks like, right? I don't have children, so I don't have to worry about as much of those things. But
Hmm.
I know other folks that is a thing that they have to um, consider when they are planning
Definitely.
trips. And then we got jobs. If you don't work for yourself,
Right.
or if you are
Right.
not able to work outside of your hometown or city or what have you, like all of those things are things to be considered. And so I do want to kind of preface this conversation by acknowledging that, like, we know that this is a privilege, right?
Absolutely. This is
We know that
absolutely
this
a
is a privilege.
privilege. If you have little experience traveling, then just consider this an opportunity to feel inspiration and to know that you're
Absolutely.
not alone in um, taking time to get there. I'm
Right.
definitely someone who, and I think we're all actually, with the way COVID has hit our world, we're all kind of
Exactly.
like restarting and getting into traveling and what that looks like. So you are in good company.
Right.
Um, and for the folks who are in here, I would love to know where you've traveled to, whether that's
Right.
in or
Yeah.
outside of the U.S. Or if you're watching this later, let us know as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
where did you just come back from?
I just came back from Egypt, which
Yeah, the
was,
motherland.
yes, ma'am, the biggest trip that I've ever taken, and a really big goal for me. Like it
Wow.
was my first time being on the motherland, going to Africa, and that was really
Oh,
important
how
to me.
special.
So I was like, yes, I gotta go. And I was there for 2 weeks, like
Ooh, that's
literally
nice.
13 days. So that felt really big too. Like that's a long time. Like that's
Yeah.
not a typical trip for me. It's usually maybe 5 days, you know?
Mm,
So I was able to really get in a full like 13 days. I was
yeah.
actually out of LA for a lot longer than that, but getting in a full 13 days in Egypt, and spent time, exploring temples and exploring the terrain there and everything that's going
Mm,
on. Hopped around to about 4 or 5 different cities, got to see a lot of things, got to see our people. And so
mm,
that was like a really powerful experience.
mm.
So yeah, that was my most recent trip.
Yeah.
In the works for a long time, though. Let's be clear. Like this has been something that has been planned, pushed back because of COVID, pushed back because I didn't have the
Mm,
funds, all of those things. So
mm.
it was not something that I just hopped and did. It is something that has been in the works for quite some time.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that I finally was able to go.
Yes, me too. And so glad that you got back safe and all that
Yeah,
good stuff as well. Yeah.
yeah,
And that you got to have such a nice like chunk of time there. Like
yeah.
one thing too with traveling or like time away is sometimes like right when you get to relaxation, it's like time to
It's
go.
over,
So
right?
right. So that's really nice.
Yeah,
And since we are talking about care and wellness, I think the piece that we both kind of tapped into of even though traveling and like taking a trip is something that is exciting and that is absolutely a privilege, something that is enjoyable, pleasurable, right? There are still pieces of the process that can sometimes, for me, I've felt overwhelmed, or
absolutely.
I've felt just the stress of the details or trying to plan and coordinate, and it's something that is just new, right? So
Mhm,
when there's uncertainty, anxiety is a place where a lot of us can get to. So
absolutely.
for you, did that come up, or what did managing stress and anxiety while also keeping your mind focused on this good thing that you're working towards? How did you manage that?
So I actually did something really unique this time, which I've only ever done one time before when I traveled. I hopped in on a group trip with strangers I didn't really know.
Oh, wow. Okay, do tell.
Yeah.
Okay.
So normally I plan trips with my friends or other people, like whatever the trip ends up looking like, it shifts and changes who's coming. But I, in the last maybe 5 years or so, realized that a lot of folks that are around me cannot, will not, don't care to travel in the ways that I do. And this is something that's really important to me. And
Mm,
so I had to find ways of incorporating that into my life and not
mm,
wait on anybody anymore because
mm.
people would just not show up. And so sometimes it was as simple as like driving down to San Diego from LA, and my friends will tell you like Katrina was always gone. We don't know where she is, but she's been driven somewhere. She's up and led. And so when
Mm,
it came to international travel, starting to look at like, I'm not a huge solo traveler when I'm going internationally because I'm just like, I want to experience this with people. And so
mm,
looking for trips that are already being planned. I
mhm.
prefer trips with other Black folks. So a group of Black people. um,
In
and
fact,
where
that's the
they're
only
going.
way I'm traveling.
I
Let me say.
might get a couple other folks in there every so often, but like I need a group of Black folks for sure.
Period.
I need to know like where are we going, who's planning it,
Yeah.
and what I think helped with like I would have been really overwhelmed planning a trip to Egypt. Like the amount of places there are to go and to see. And we
Right.
did a lot of traveling even in Egypt. We took flights, we took buses, we took like a boat, like there was all kinds of things that was happening. And so I would have been really overwhelmed trying to do that in the middle of COVID, trying to run this business, like
Mm,
all of these things. And
mhm.
so what helped with the anxiety was there was a group of people who were in the spiritual community that I was a part of who were going to Egypt to learn about, African spirituality and things of that nature. And I was like, yes, they
Yeah.
planned it. They sent me the itinerary. They got the information
Yeah.
together. I just had to pay my coins and get myself to New York, which is where we were flying out of to get to Egypt.
Yeah.
That was it. And that
Mm,
made it so much easier and so much more simple. So please don't think you have to do all of this yourself. Like you can absolutely, there are so many groups nowadays where people
mhm.
are, it's a community where people are like, yeah, like we plan travel trips together. And if you want to come in, it doesn't matter really who you are, like pay your coins and let's go. I think
Mm,
that helped me in this moment because in the
yeah.
middle of everything that's been going on, I didn't have time to plan nobody's trip.
Right.
Like I didn't have time. I didn't have the capacity. My brain was not there. Like I needed a vacation, but planning a vacation,
Right. The
no.
ultimate gag. Like I'm exhausted, but I have to muster up the energy to figure out the tedious details of my restoration.
Right.
Oh
I
my
need somebody to
gosh.
just like magically put it together for me and just tell me where to show up. Like that's what I
Right.
really need. Right.
You know
Uh,
what though? I really like that you said that because I feel like you just gave me, hopefully other folks, permission to like know where you're at, to know your strengths, your challenges, and that you don't have to do everything and figure
right.
out everything. Like there are absolutely different ways to come into this that meet you where you are. Cause I would,
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely feel overwhelmed. Girl, I was just trying to plan a little getaway in Southern California and I was like, it's too many places. I don't know. I don't know where to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Sometimes it's easier to just be like, okay, what's going to be the cheapest? Where is somebody that I know already at? Right? Where is there an activity that I want to do? Like I feel like planning in those ways make it a lot easier. But when you're just like, I want to go somewhere and do something with somebody, then there's just so many questions there.
just at me, Callie, because that's exactly what that's exactly what I was sounding like. But it's just good to know. And traveling alone. Well, you brought up so many thoughts for me, actually. Before I even get to that, I want to know, what do you love so much about traveling, and the fact that like it's so important to you that I feel like I'm interviewing you, but you
I do
just,
too. That's
but
okay.
I'm
I can be
genuinely
interviewed today.
right. I'm genuinely, and I'm gonna throw in my experience too with traveling alone to Barbados. But I want to know, what is the thing for you that you love so much about travel, to the point that you are willing to like figure out how I can do it by myself. You know.
That's a great question. I love the world. I love seeing the world. I love people and culture and experiencing that. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, I mean, we have all of that here in the US, absolutely. And there's something different about seeing how other people live and experience the world. And your girl loves a good beach, okay? And although I live in LA, our beaches are really trash. Let's be honest.
It's the tea. It is. It
Like,
is. And I love it here, but it's true.
it's not, our beaches are not good. They look cute on pictures, but they're dirty.
When
And
you get right
so
up on that water and the
you
baby
don't want to
diaper
be
hits your
there anymore.
ankle,
It's gross,
exactly.
right? It's nasty. So I want to go somewhere where I can like enjoy the water, like be in the water, not just by the water. I
Right.
want to enjoy that. And so it is something also, I think for me that when it's hard to be present, when it's hard to just be like, okay, like I'm enjoying life in this moment, travel does that for me. Like I don't have
Mm-hmm.
to worry about nothing. I can just show up. I can go lay out on the beach
Mm-hmm.
and have a drink or
Right.
whatever. Like this is it, and it's fun, and there's so much that's built into that. You get to experience so many people, and so I think for me that's really powerful. And there's a piece of it too, if I'm like really thinking about it really deeply,
Yeah.
like seeing Black folks in a different space,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like enjoying life like Black folks just out
Mm-hmm.
enjoying life in a different space outside of the US. There's something really powerful about that to me. And
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy being in that. So I like going places where I can see my people.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
yeah.
Absolutely. That was my thinking too. So in undergrad, when I decided to study abroad, I was like, I knew I didn't want to go to like no European country, no tea, no shade, but I was like, I want to go see my people. So
Mm-hmm.
I ended up deciding on Barbados to go and study abroad, because it's Black people and beaches. Hello, take me
Listen,
immediately.
listen.
So the idea when I was like getting things together was that I was actually supposed to go with I mean, it was like a campus sponsored trip, right? So
Mm,
there was a level of structure to it, in a different kind of way of just kind of like
right.
jumping onto a group trip, right? And at the time, it was supposed to be me and my partner at the time going to study abroad. My partner drops out. So I was really
Mm,
like, okay, am I going to just stay here because she's not going anymore? Or am I going to say, fuck it? I said, fuck it. So I
good for
went,
you.
yes. And honestly, it was such a transformative experience on so many different levels. I mean, the fact that I did decide to go and go by myself, like that instilled a level of confidence and trust in myself that I
Right.
was able to like reflect back on all the time. Like, well, you did this big jump by yourself. Like, you can do it again. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That trip is also where I discovered yoga, which hello has like,
Wow.
yes, has been like the leading part of my trajectory. So it was such an important trip.
Mm,
And so I also think that traveling is really like restorative, because we
absolutely.
get pulled away from the things that are like constant in our lives. And like the piece
And
that you said
feels
of,
so important.
right, right,
Right.
right. And all of a sudden you recognize maybe not so much. And the newness of everything, I feel like almost naturally brings you to a mindful place, like what you notice of
Absolutely.
just being present, because there's so much to be captivated by. The air
Right.
is new, you know what I mean? So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it is something really, I did learn a lot, even though, and I love Barbados. It's very tourist driven, so it's very
Mhm. Yeah.
American in a lot of ways. And
Hmm.
still, interacting with folks from the diaspora, because it's not only Bajans who are there, it's folks from all kind of
Right.
different islands and stuff as well. And I learned so much more about myself, about our people, all the different cultures, the
Absolutely.
ways that we're very similar, the ways that we're very different, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, you learn so much about yourself and about the world, which is very cliche, but it's also so true of what makes
Hmm.
getting out of your comfort zone like such a powerful,
Yeah.
holistically powerful experience.
Yeah. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
a big part of it is that you are stepping outside of the things that feel normal and comfortable for you. And so,
Mm-hmm.
what does it look like to explore yourself and be with yourself in a completely
Mm-hmm.
new environment space where,
Mm-hmm.
like, you literally ain't got phone service. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you don't know the streets, right? Because
Right.
even if you're just traveling locally, like you don't know these streets. You don't
Right.
know where the nearest grocery store is, and you got to figure that out. And
Right.
you don't know how to get to this place or how to go over there, like how these highways run because they run very differently, or like what side of the street to drive on, or what. Like, there's
Right.
so many aspects of that that I
Yeah.
think help you to really discover who you are. And it does
Yeah.
put you in a place of being more mindful, like in a way that it's not even intentional sometimes, but
Right.
you, like you said, it's so many new things that you can't help but to be mindful because you have to be present with what's happening. You can't be on
Absolutely.
autopilot when you're in a place you've never been.
Right. Right.
It doesn't work.
Right. Period. And what I think I'm hearing too is like there's a sense of being vulnerable.
Mm,
Vulnerable just because you are out of your element, you know, and
absolutely.
when we are in vulnerability is when we run up against so much of ourselves that maybe we get to look over or just not notice when we're on in a place where we can be on autopilot and not
Yeah.
paying attention, as much attention even to our own selves. So
Yeah.
um absolutely, I had another thought as
Yeah.
well, but it's gone now. But yeah.
Yeah. It slows us down. It's an
Mm-hmm.
invitation to just slow down. Get out of the things that you are doing, the routines that you have, and just do something different. And I think
Mm-hmm.
for me, every time I come back from a trip, regardless of whether I just drove a couple hours to San Diego or went out of the country, it is always like, oh, like realizing, like, oh, look at all the things that I have done, and look at how I have shifted since the last time
Right.
I went out of my element, right? Look
Yes.
at who I am now and let me find these things of like gratitude of the growth that I've made and all of that kind of stuff. Like, it's an opportunity, whether I do it intentionally or not, to really just sit with where I'm at. And I think whenever I come back, I'm like, oh, look at you, Katrina, out here like growing and things and
Right.
different and shifting. And that feels really good. Um,
Right. Right.
yeah.
I think the thing you just brought my thought back of framing it around your comfort zone makes it so much more expansive of what travel can even mean to
Yeah.
you, because for somebody it might be just as much of an adventure to travel 3 hours in a direction that you have
Absolutely.
never driven before, right? Or it could be taking the trip across the world. It's really whatever your boundary is, expanding that thing. So it doesn't,
Absolutely.
yeah, have to be all the time this, super ornate experience trip, I should say, but it can always be a really powerful experience, regardless of the actual
Location,
destination.
right. Yes,
Hmm. Hmm.
yes. I'm glad you said that because I was thinking through that too. Like we're talking about travel in this very like expansive, like large way, and
Hmm.
also it's very like closed because
Yeah.
we're talking like taking a plane and going somewhere, but you can travel in your own city. You can go
Yeah.
to areas of your city where you've never been to before and explore that. There
Yes.
was a period of time in my life in grad school actually where I didn't have the ability to really travel, and but I needed to get out because I was living in shared spaces. And what I would
Hmm.
do is every other month or so, I would just rent a hotel room by the beach somewhere, and I would just
Hmm.
stay for like a weekend. And it was
Hmm.
literally just like a walkable place that I would find, and I would go and I would just stay. And it gave
Hmm.
me a very similar, if not the same experience as I get when I actually go into other cities and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so, really encouraging people, like, it doesn't have to be this huge, large thing that you are doing, but it can be going to that city that's right next to yours that you've never been to and exploring that for a day or a weekend. It could be a day trip and you just drive and hang out and come back. It could be catching a bus somewhere. It can be
Yes.
getting on a boat. It can be like whatever it is, you know. I think we are very privileged here in Los Angeles that we have so many destinations that we can reach in an
Hmm.
hour or two. Other folks don't have that, but there's something around, right?
Yes.
So finding
Yes.
places to explore. It can be traveling into nature, which is just the mountain that's 30 minutes away that you've never
Yeah.
been to, and like exploring there.
Yeah.
It can look so many different ways. Do not allow these larger, very privileged messages, we'll name
Yeah.
them, about like traveling, getting on planes, and being international. I mean, sure, if that's your goal, absolutely go for it. And if you don't have access to that in that moment, you can still create a lot of this experience, mental health wise, by just finding yourself in a new space.
1,000%, 1,000%. Because let me tell y'all right now, as someone who has had to get real creative with the travel and exploration, okay, what that has looked like for me when, flying, driving, whatever, wasn't necessarily something accessible to me. I'm like, if I had a period of time where I was like working a lot in cafes. This is the before times. So like I would just explore different new cafes around the city and let that be
Mm-hmm.
a new experience in and of itself. I am someone who really appreciates and grows a lot from experiences. So I love an adventure. And that can
Mm-hmm.
be as small as me just taking a different street or
Yes.
letting myself just drive and get lost, right? And just see new
Mm-hmm.
things that I haven't seen before. Whether I'm driving or walking, that's still me pushing my boundaries in some
Yes.
ways, getting out of my comfort zone, exploring something new. It's a little vulnerable because I don't know this street or this side of town and whatnot, and it's still exciting because I'm out
Absolutely.
of my norm and my routine, right? So I want y'all to know that even if it's just taking a different way home, there is absolutely
Mm-hmm.
opportunity for you to bring inspiration and adventure and excitement in the ways that we search for and think of when we're like planning a big trip. That it is
Absolutely.
absolutely possible, even within whatever your context or situation looks like, 1,000%.
Absolutely. Yes. And if you have a really big trip that you want to go on, like plan it 10 years out if you have to.
Yeah.
Like take your time. It doesn't have to be tomorrow. Like these
Yes.
things did not come, immediately. And I haven't
Yeah.
traveled in years because with starting my business, I didn't have the funds. And
Mm-hmm.
so this was, a challenge for me and,
Mm-hmm.
has really been a challenge for me to find new ways of getting these experiences. So please don't be discouraged. Like this can look
Yes.
so many different ways. It is really just about getting out of your comfort zone,
Yeah.
finding a new place to be where you can learn about yourself and be present in a way that maybe you aren't when you are at home.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I feel inspired, if anything, because the more you do it, the more you push your boundary, the wider the boundary gets. Before you know
Yes,
it, girl, you're
well,
gonna go from the other side of town to the other side of the world. So
yes, absolutely. Look,
just
I
getting
have
it
come a long
started.
way from
Okay.
hotels near Redondo Beach to Egypt. Okay,
What y'all are seeing is after a lot of progress in the journey. Okay, so don't
absolutely.
don't get it twisted.
Right. It does not always look like this. 2 weeks in Egypt is not the norm.
Right. Okay, we did not start off taking trips. Okay, getting flued out. Okay, but
Right.
possible, absolutely. Yeah. Is there more that you wanted to say since you're fresh off the plane?
Um, no, not really. It gave me the reminder that I needed that like this is
Mhm.
something that I need to continue to move through in life, and I will be doing much more of it. So y'all might see me in some new places and spaces
We gonna be
because
looking at you like this. Fine.
yeah, we going now. What's
Hopefully,
going on?
me too. Okay. I hope I'm looking down at y'all like, hey.
But yeah, I think it's about just finding what works for you, finding what feels good for you, and go somewhere. Just,
Yes.
experience something new. You deserve
Yes.
it, right?
Yes.
You deserve it. It is something that we all have access to in some way, shape, or form. It is
Yes.
just about getting creative, about
Yes.
finding the access that works for you.
Yep. Yep. So go start exploring new parks around the city or
There you
whatever.
go.
Honestly, that's
Right.
cute. I
Yeah.
would.
Yeah.
All
Oh,
right.
it was so good to see you.
It is. I say it every month, but I'm just like, oh, I love it here, and I
I
really
know, right?
we visit it when we take breaks. So we back,
Yes,
y'all. We back. Tell a friend and
we
tell a
are
friend
back.
and tell a friend.
Yes, 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 yes. And check us out on all of these platforms that we're on now, right? We're on
Mm-hmm.
Spotify, we got Anchor, we have SoundCloud. Come check us out. Go
Facts.
through, listen from the beginning, there
Mm-hmm.
and there, and continue to stay with us. Before we
Mm-hmm.
close out, though, Kayla, do you have any announcements, things that you want to share with the people?
Any announcements? Just to join us over at the Well Healing on Instagram. We are wrapping up a community conversation with the Black Lights Art
Mhm.
Collective, who has been sharing really cool stuff from poetry to hiking
Oh,
to um, emotional freedom technique is coming up. So tap
oh,
in with us because we have some really cool stuff happening over there. What about you?
that's exciting. Announcements. Manifesting Me Wellness has hired a new therapist. Yasmin
Ah!
has been onboarded and is accepting clients. She's a Latinx therapist in the state of California. So if you're looking for a therapist, come check us out. Follow Manifesting Me Wellness on Instagram. We will be walking you through the journey of getting into therapy. I've been getting a lot of questions about what that looks like, how does it go, how to find a therapist. So we're
Yes.
going to be walking y'all through what that journey looks like, questions you can ask, things to look for, and stuff like that. So pay attention to what comes up on there. Let us know if you have any questions that you want us to cover as well. We'll be happy to do that. So come check us
Yes.
out over there.
Sounds good. Well, all right, y'all. Thank you so much for dropping in. Make sure you comment where you have traveled or where you will be traveling.
Yes, let us know what
And
those dreams are.
yes, period. And otherwise, we'll see you next month.
Next month, it'll be October.
It'll be October. I know. Don't even get me started how 2021 is literally in its
Over.
last
It's a wrap.
leg. Yeah, I
So,
cannot.
yeah.
So we'll see you in October.
All right. See y'all.
Bye.
Bye.